Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby.
We haven't done a Monday episode in a while, and there was a little something that just happened called the NFL Combine. So, welcome back, Mock Draft Mondays. But before we dive into the latest and greatest mock draft, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for one of the best mockers in the game, uh, oh, look at me. I've got great hair and great insights all the time and know everything about where all the picks are going to go. And I'm just dialed in on everything. That was me mocking Mel Kiper Jr., expert mocker right here. If you're looking for more of that, you can follow me, your boy, Coach Red, on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for the co-hostess with the mostest when it comes to these mock drafts, I think that he has a standing invitation to be the person that reads out the enunciations at the script's spelling bee. If you're looking for that guy in waiting, well, look no further. He's right here, and his name is Cain.
Shit, that's funny. That's funny.
I know.
I'm Kane. Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us, follow us, follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
I do want to say as well, when it comes to this mock draft in its entirety, I think that we only have like a handful of picks that were at the same place that it was a week and a half ago. So
Yeah,
we're still going to get dialed in more and more. You're going to see pro days, see a lot more mocks, give you a little bit more insight on some of these guys. You'll see free agency start. So this is kind of going blind with a little bit. Some of the projected cuts that have happened or rumored to be happening coming up. So we are able to have a little bit more insight, try to tighten this thing up a little bit. We'll continue doing that right up to draft weekend. But dun 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 dun. With the first pick, the Tennessee Titans select.
Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State.
Last time we had a quarterback going here, the quarterbacks just don't impress me that much. It's like Shania Twain over here. Abdul Carter has one of the higher upsides coming out of this draft, gives you a little bit of Miles Garrett type vibes, which we kind of said he would be a menace next to him in the last draft. But Abdul Carter, I don't think they're going to be just smitten with Cam Ward. So I think that in this simulation, we sit there and bring Abdul
Best
Carter
player
to the party.
it's best player available, right? And you get more bang out of your buck. I mean, this could possibly be the next Miles Garrett, right? When you're looking at great edge rushers and doing it with a high motor, right? And this is kind of the guy. Yeah, you got to get better on offense in Tennessee, but being better on defense helps a lot too. So
Correct. All right, with pick number 2, the Cleveland Browns select.
Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado.
I think he plays wide receiver for them. They need as much
Fair.
help as they can get playmaker wise on offense. That offense with Kevin Stefanski, he's going to be drooling over him. I think he'll play a little bit of cornerback just because they're going to keep that going until they can't
Mm.
realistically, because he's shown he can play a high level at both. But I think for the Browns, he's a higher upside, especially early on at the wideout position.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, pick number 3, the New York Giants.
Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami.
The Giants just can't afford to not take a quarterback. Like we said in the last one, the only guy on roster right now is Tommy DeVito. I don't think that there's been rumors now that Aaron Rodgers just might go over to the Giants, but I think the Giants are too far away from being a contender for Aaron Rodgers to want to go there. So
Yes.
you got to get the top guy available. And, they did this with Danny Dimes. I hope it doesn't come back and bite him with Cam Ward.
I agree. I like everything about Cam Ward. It's just a bad situation up there in New York.
All right. Next, the New England Patriots select.
Armand Mabu, tackle out of Missouri.
This dude had himself a combine, ran, I think, a 4.91 40, measured out extremely well, really rocketed up the boards. Seen a couple mock drafts having him here. And when you look at the weak points of the Patriots, wide receiver is one, which I was, you know, thinking about taking a wide out, but you got to have somebody protecting Drake May's blind side. And this guy showed out at the combine and was already in our first mock, kind of in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. So a good combine can really shoot you up these boards at this time of the year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens at his workout or that is pro
I think
day.
he's probably just gonna let a lot of things fly if I were him.
Sure, sure. He'll make an appearance, say what's up, right? But that's about it.
All right, pick number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They select Mason Graham, D tackle out of Michigan.
This really helps kind of free up their edge rushers a little bit. Right now, I think he's the second best defensive prospect in this draft.
Sure.
And for a team in the Jaguars that are just kind of in this weird position, I
Mm.
think that they're going to be able to do enough offensively to make things interesting. So go get the top guy to kind of help free up your edge rushers that you've drafted near the top because, yeah, you've got Josh Allen, you've got Trayvon Walker. Having somebody that could be a disruptive force in the middle can help free them up and make this team that much better.
Like it. I like this pick a lot.
Pick number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Uh, as Marshawn Lynch would yell, Raiders. Ashton Genty, somebody who runs just like him. Halfback out of Boise State.
They met with them at the combine. So this is one where you're kind of putting two pieces together. Zamir White wasn't great. They had a ton of touches from a ton of different running backs last year. Probably going to look at a Russell Wilson to fill that hole at quarterback. So being able to bring in an electric playmaker to couple with Brock Bowers, Mike Mayer, to a lesser extent, Jacoby Myers. This is a guy that can help change the culture because Pete Carroll, if I know one thing about Pete Carroll, is he wants to run the damn ball. And
Yeah,
there's
and
one
why
guy
not
that
give
runs
it
it more better than anyone else in this draft.
more better?
Yeah, he does it
Yes,
way more better.
more better.
All right, pick number 7, the New York Jets.
Victoria McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. They need offensive help, and it can't just lie on Garrett Wilson.
Well, word's coming out. They're either going to trade or cut Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I
So
mean it
that
makes
opens
sense,
up a
right?
hole. I don't think I know that you had prime time and this was a potential spot for Shadur Sanders. I pass on it here because I think that the Jets can look at someone to bridge a little bit, possibly like a Kirk Cousins. This could be another place that you could see a Russell Wilson, a Justin Fields potentially go. So
Yeah,
you've got some guys that are going to be available that I think give you more of a win now mode. And especially when you bring in a defensive coach, I don't think he wants to be tethered to that first round rookie quarterback. Aaron Glenn's getting his
exactly.
first shot. So being able to get an established veteran that can kind of tide you over this year and hopefully get you in playoff contention is going to go a long way to Jets fans.
Sure, sure.
All right, pick number 8, the Carolina Panthers.
John A. Barron, quarterback out of Texas.
I think Jade at the combine kind of elevated himself to cornerback one. I think that was kind of the area where we had Will Johnson in the last draft. So Jade, this is a team that has had bad luck at cornerback position. You had CJ Henderson, you had JC Horn that Henderson was on the
Has
team.
JC Horn has shown flashes,
He
just has
has, but
always
I need
been
someone to play
injured.
opposite of him, and I need injury insurance. So go ahead and get
Yes,
me Jade Barron because down the stretch, they were playing better offensively. Chuba has put himself as a starting running back. Bryce Young has looked better. You still have Andy Dalton on this team. You have a slew of pass catchers. None of
mm-hmm.
them are particularly awesome, but they've got guys that do different things. So I want to beef up this defense and really put them in a spot where you look at the rest of the NFC South. If you can win games on defense, you can potentially win this division.
Exactly. I think this next pick might be the best pick of the entire round. I'm putting
We
my
haven't
stamp
got
on it.
10 more picks.
I know, but I'm putting my stamp on this one.
He's like, put my stamp. This is the best pick of the first nine.
Yeah. Go ahead and introduce the team.
Pick number 9, New Orleans Saints.
Luther Burden the third, wide receiver out of Missouri. I just give Kellen Moore an absolute weapon outside, and give Chris Olave some help.
I
Man
think
can't do it all.
we looked at tight end in the last draft, and I just sat there and I said, you know what? The Saints have had a fascination with weird tight ends for so long. So
Mm,
go ahead and get some guy on the outside so Derek Carr can sling it.
exactly. And I think if anybody can bring the most out of anybody, it's Kellen Moore, dude. Big props.
All right. Pick number 10, Chicago Bears.
Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M.
Shamar Stewart had himself a little bit of a combine there. With this, um, they made the trade. I can't remember the other edge that they brought in a couple years back and then re-signed him. I want to say that it's not Josh Sweat, but it's the others, Montez Sweat. So you have
Yes.
Montez Sweat. Go and get another guy defensively. Yes. Is this a team that needs help along the offensive line? Yes. There are plenty of good players available. Yes. But when you look at Ben Johnson, he's pretty good at scheming stuff up, right? So I think this is another one where you're looking at an offensive head coach that he can target some guys later in the draft that can solidify that offensive line. You go
Mhm.
get top edge available here in the entire outside of Abdul Carter, right? This is your next guy. So being able to get a guy who has a high ceiling like a Montez Sweat is having those two book in getting after a quarterback can really put your team in good field position and does take some of that burden off of Caleb Williams.
Right. Yep. I like it.
Pick number 11. It is the San Francisco 49ers.
Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State.
It's another guy that had a very good combine. This is a team where come in, play some right tackle for you, potentially take over when Williams retires here, which could be any day now. Plus, I don't trust that Trent Williams can stay healthy for a full season. This is a team that you saw when the injury bug started hitting, it hit real hard. I thought about looking at wide receiver here, but I think they're going to let Pearsall and AU kind of run with it and target a guy a little bit later with the news of them trading Debo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick coming out over the weekend. Go ahead and solidify that line because they're going to get ready to pay Brock Purdy. You're already paying Brandon Ayuk. So, and CMC and Trent Williams. Trent Williams is the first guy that's going to be gone out of that bunch. You need to make sure that you've got a guy that can plug and play as soon as he's ready to hang it up or miss his time due to injury.
Fair enough. I like it.
Pick number 12, the Dallas Cowboys.
Mike Green, edge out of Marshall.
I'm had another guy that had a good combine, but had an even better senior day. I think that when you look at Jerry Jones, he likes the guys that he can get people in the seats for. This is a guy that would be going right around where Micah Parsons went in the draft. The difference is Mike Parsons fell due to off-field concerns, and Mike Green is rocketing up. Jerry Jones is not going to say no to guys that can make highlight reel type plays, and sometimes it's to the detriment of their overall football team. But it's going to be interesting to see. Mike Green did well against good competition at the Senior Bowl, but also comes from a lower division
And
school.
I'm sure this is coming off an offseason where they're mostly going to lose a lot of their defensive free agents because they cannot pay them. So they have to replace them and be selectively aggressive.
All right, pick number 13, the Miami Dolphins.
Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Mississippi.
I've seen some mocks post combine where he's going top 10, and that's putting two D tackles in that range. I think this is a guy that pairs super well with Christian Watkins down there. These two can play in tandem. This Christian Watkins be like, man, at my back at Clemson with Dexter Lawrence and Cleveland Farrell. Oh, it might be with this little lineup. So Walter Nolan's a quick riser, and I think can do some things defensively on this team because that's what cost them quite a few games, especially down the stretch.
Yep.
All right, pick number 14, the Indianapolis Colts.
They're taking Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State.
They need help on offense, right? They have good outside players, but you've had the likes of Mo Alley Cox kind of being your number one guy at the tight end position. Whether it is going to be Anthony Richardson or someone else, having an established tight end, having a guy who I'm not going to say he has Brock Bowers upside, but he's not too far behind him. I could see Tyler Warren coming in with the scheme that fits him and putting up like Sam Laporta did in his rookie year or a step below Bowers because the tight ends are getting more involved. If it's still with Anthony Richardson, I don't know if that's going to happen because he's so boomer bust, but having a little bit better security blanket over the middle of the field could be a big help to this offense. All right, pick number 15, the Atlanta Falcons.
James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee.
This is another guy that's right there with Shamar Stewart, Mike Green. And when you look at a team that has historically, in the past 5 years, had just the worst effort on getting to the quarterback, getting a guy with this type of upside coming onto this team in the first round, the offensive firepower they have. Michael Penix showed you that he can still sling the ball. It's not just college, he can do it in the NFL too. So I think that offense is going to have some high upside. So being able, like I said, with the Panthers, being able to limit points in the NFC South will probably win you more games than it will lose you.
It helps out with Grady Jarrett, man, because he's been their highest performer on the defensive line and been so often injured. And this could also alleviate some of the stress of that. And like Coach said, they have to get after the quarterback. They just don't succeed. I mean, last in sacks in 5 consecutive seasons. It's insane.
I don't know if they were last, but I think if you go over
It's
the
pretty close.
course, if you go over the course of that, I think that they are last on average.
Yes. All
Oh
right,
man.
pick number 16.
No, I don't want to go to pick number 16 yet, Kane. I was trying to find something else that would help, but I can't find it.
Can't make your point. All right.
No, I was sitting there and it's been so long and he was injured at the beginning of the draft. Falcons did take someone out of UW last year in the third round that missed the entire year that also plays the edge position. And I just, for the life of me, can't remember his name off the top of my head. Was an absolute stud in the Texas game. Basically, put that defense on his back by setting that edge. Ton of hurries, ton of pressures. Oh,
He was your favorite.
yeah, but I can't remember his name right now. I guess that's what
Is it
happens when you get.
Braylon?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now we can go to pick 16. Glad I
You're
got that out of
welcome.
the way. 16, Arizona Cardinals. Select.
Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan.
It's another guy that we had slated around this area in the teens to the 20s in the last draft. When you look at a team like the Cardinals, they can do enough offensively. They've looked at wide receiver. They've looked at quarterback. They've drafted a starting tackle in Paris Johnson. So go ahead and get me some more help on this defense because you've got a coach that is a defensive minded head coach in Gannon. So go ahead and give him some more tools to play with.
Agreed.
All right. Now we've got
Bengals.
number 17, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama.
So Alex Kappa is expected to be cut or was cut as a cap casualty. I think that Tyler Booker is the best true guard, and they're franchise tagging T. Higgins again, so we don't need to look there. They're apparently very far apart with Jamar Chase, but the key is keeping Joe Burrow upright. So putting more and more and more capital into that offensive line is imperative to this team.
Agreed. Thank you for making my point in a short, concise answer. Oh, love it.
Number 18, your Seattle Seahawks select.
Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU.
Yes, it is. One thing that might have played into the Seahawks' favor at the combine was Will Campbell's underwhelming arm length. So came in shorter and he's like, you can look at my tape, you can do this, you can do that, and I could still do it. I think he's probably going to go before here, but guess what? It's early enough in the mock draft cycle. I want my player and I want him now. And so I wanted to go ahead and get this because I could see him potentially dropping, but the guy's mentality is crazy. He's like, yeah, I have shorter arms. Look at all the tape. I've consistently won against guys that you're going to be selecting in the first and second round. If you look at a lot of these edge guys, they're coming out of the SEC. So if you look at this, he's a guy that's held up against them. But I mean, one man's trash is another man's treasure. An old man without treasure, Will Campbell. The other thing I like, he said, he goes, yeah, I want to start at tackle, but if you say I can get on the field right now and start at guard, I'll do that too. Whatever it takes for me to be on the field, I will do for the team. Love
All
it.
right. Yeah, guard mentality. I love it.
All right. Next pick is number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan.
This is second best corner on the board. This is a team that, especially down the stretch, we're playing a lot of shootout games. What they weren't able
Yes.
to do was stop the opposing team through the air. So going and getting a guy who has cornerback one potential out of this draft at pick 19, it feels like a steal to me.
Yeah, that's one area where they were lacking most of the year. I mean, it was very streaky with their defense, and Baker had to try to bail them out more than once.
All
So
right, pick number 20, the Denver Broncos.
we're gonna select a Marion Hampton, running back. Go ahead.
North Carolina. Omarion. We talked about this last one. You said a Marion both times. It's a Marion.
I didn't listen to the
So,
singer very much. I'm sorry.
so the Broncos also met with Ashton Genty. I don't think he's going to last to the Broncos pick. If you
No.
really look at their running back room, you have Estime, McLaughlin. I think they're out on Javante Williams. So going and getting a guy that can do all, be all, and be a home run hitter from the running back position, I think that is a very intriguing prospect to add on to that offense led by Bo Nix.
Yep, I agree. I mean, just to take the load off him, because I mean, Bo Nix showed a lot in his first year, but I'm not gonna solely base a game off of him.
All right. Pick number 21. The Pittsburgh Steelers select.
Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas.
They actually don't. When they went and handed in the card, they had scratched too many names out, and Goodell said, "Hey guys, what's the pick here? It looks like it says Matthew Golden." They say, "Actually, no, that says Shador Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado." Reason I think that this could be a good play for them. Do I love all their weapons offensively? No, I do not. But what I do think is Mike Tomlin is the type of guy to be able to handle Dion and the noise that comes with that. I think he's a guy that can show tough love to Shador, which you're not going to get one of a more respected head coach in the NFL.
Fair.
If you're going to have a guy that's going to buy in, if I were playing in the NFL, I wouldn't want to play in Pittsburgh throughout the winter, but Mike Tomlin seems like a guy that will set an expectation and hold you to it. And if you aren't holding up to your end of the deal, you're not going to see the field. And I think that'll play with Shador and actually bring out some of his better characteristics, because I do think that he was pat statting a little bit at Colorado the last 2 years. So I think that this could be a very intriguing fit to really fill a position where you want to talk about a team that doesn't have quarterbacks on roster. Look no further than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You threw me for a loop.
I know. I thought about it when I looked at it again, because um, where we were going to mock draft earlier was giving me some fits. So Kane had to do it. And then I totally spaced that Shador did not go in the top 10 of the draft.
And I was sitting there being like, I mean, a lot of people say he's fallen. So, hey.
Right in Kenny Pickett territory.
Oof.
All right, pick number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers.
We're going home with a reunion. Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan.
Yeah, so I think where we're sitting right here, right now, we had Amarion Hampton was a repeat pick. Colson Loveland is a repeat pick. And I think that's about it
Yes. Yeah.
so far. So said that we would have a couple, but go ahead and give me Colson Loveland here. This is a team that needs offensive playmakers. Could they use another wide receiver? Sure. Do I love the guys that are available right now to fulfill a need that they don't already have? No. So go ahead and get me the second best tight end in this entire draft, who I think is going to slot in and have a very good early career. This is a guy whose game will translate. He's going to be around Harbaugh once again. Seems like a perfect fit.
Match made in heaven, right?
All right, pick number 23, the Green Bay Packers.
They're going to go with Michael Williams, edge out of Georgia.
This was an easy pick because their logos look almost exactly the same, but with different colors. So that's what we base our opinion on and nothing else. Okay, a little bit something else. I think the edge is an area that they need to improve in. This is a team that does need to get after the quarterback. Rashawn Gary has got better as they've progressed, but you're seeing a little bit more rush from their linebackers. I think Cooper was a big guy for them last year, especially down the stretch. Going and getting a guy that can create pressure like a Michael Williams to partner with Rashawn Gary can kind of open up the best of all worlds for that defense. All right, pick number 24. The Minnesota Vikings.
Thanks, Coach. Siobhan Ravel, cornerback out of ECU.
This is another guy that's kind of bumped up the boards a little
Love
bit. I
this.
saw him quite a bit in a lot of post mock drafts. So, or post combine drafts. Sorry, it's already been a week at work. Like, my apologies on this one. But Siobhan Ravel, it's a guy that fits a position of need for this team. Their cornerback play has not been amazing. So being able to go get this is a team that has a lot of offensive firepower no matter who's behind the helmet quarterback. So being able to go get someone to beef up that defense, I think, is going to be big for this team. All right, pick number 25, the Houston Texans.
Derek Harmon, D tackle out of Oregon.
D tackle is kind of a sneaky good class when you really look at how this is lining up for the first round. You typically don't see these many interior defensive linemen go, but Derek Harmon's a guy that showed out pretty well at the combine. I think that you do see a bounce back from CJ Stroud. I think with Joe Mixon on that team, with Nico on that team, hopefully Tank Dell's coming back. You're seeing more out of Dalton Schultz. So, and Brevin Jordan. So being able to go and get someone to help out with that defense is going to be key because you have a defensive minded head coach. You saw what they can do. 2 years ago, where they were a little bit of a surprise team. Last year felt like they underwhelmed a little bit. It's time to get back to the meat and potatoes, look at the trenches, beef that up, and get ready to roll in the AFC South.
That
Pick number 26, the Los Angeles Rams.
they're gonna take Jihad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama.
Ernest Jones was the guy that I thought was going to be a long term fit for them, but they shipped him out last year before the season started. So being able to go get someone that can spearhead a defense, Alabama's defense, even though they've been down the last couple of years, that defense is always vaunted. We're always seeing guys come out of this. This is the next big linebacker prospect, and it was a guy that we had going a little bit later in the draft. Go ahead and get me a leader of men to come in with this defense and really take over at that linebacker position. Pick number 27, the Baltimore Ravens.
Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas.
It's like we said in the last one. Is Ronnie Staley going to be back? If he is, this is a guy that I think has guard tackle versatility. So he gives you options along the offensive line. When you're going to continue to run the ball at such a high clip and be so physical in that with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, I think that beefing that up and having a guy that can slot in at multiple positions and start sooner than later is a guy that they would want on this team.
Agreed.
Pick number 28, the Detroit Lions.
Ray Zabel, tackle out of North Dakota State.
Slots for me is an interior offensive lineman. And this is a team that lost Jonah Jackson a year ago in free agency to the Rams, and the Rams are already ready to cut bait and try and trade him. They can't afford him. So go ahead and get a smaller school guy that is going to be hungry to come in. And another guy, like we said, when we talk about Dan Campbell, we think of Dan Campbell type guys. I saw a little clip that finally came out. I don't know where it's been my whole life, but they were talking with Sam Laporta during the pre-draft. They gave you like 3 minutes of it, like some of the questions they were asking him. And I just seemed like I think that Gray Zabel is, I think he's got the little bit of flow going. And I feel like he looks like Dan Campbell a little bit when he was playing the NFL. Be a fun pick. All right, pick number 29, the Washington Commanders.
They select Nick Edenwari, safety out of South Carolina.
He stole the show at the combine. I believe
Yeah.
that his RAS was 9.99. Like he smashed everything. And this guy was a playmaker in college too. When you look at the Washington Commanders, they had one of my favorite guys in Jeremy Chin on this squad, but it was 1 year deal. Go ahead and get me a guy. I think Bobby Wagner is going to be coming back. So if you look at a Dan Quinn style defense, safety position looms large. And this
And
guy
he's
is a baller.
big. He's big and hits like a truck.
And he's very fast. Like this could potentially be Dan Quinn's next Cam Chancellor.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, pick number 30, the Buffalo Bills.
Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. And I think the big thing here is they need linebacker play. They need good linebacker play.
Matt Milano is an older defenseman now. The rest of their guys weren't actually big time players. So go ahead and get me another guy that call me crazy for putting two linebackers in the first round. That usually doesn't happen unless we're talking about edges. But I think Jalen Walker is a good fit for this team, and it is a good range for him to get taken here at the tail end of the first. Pick number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia.
I want someone to play opposite of I think it's Justin Reed, right? This is a guy that can come in and play that other safety position. You saw in the Super Bowl matchup where they got beat over the middle a little bit, right? And having another safety that can make plays. Yes, you've got great play out of Reed. You've got great play out of your corners. Go ahead and let's make this secondary whole by inserting Day one starter Malachi Starks.
Yes, I agree.
All right, pick number 32. The
Uh,
Philadelphia Eagles select.
JT Tumilayao, Edge, Ohio State.
So this is a guy that is originally from the state of Washington and went to the great Ohio State, comes off a national title. This is a guy that was a 5-star prospect coming out. I think he showed out well at the combine. His arms measured extremely long. The production wasn't always there, but this reminds me slightly of like an Edifeo way where he came off the year where he and Micah Parsons were wrecking havoc. Next year, Edifeo way records 0 sacks and still is a first round pick. Yes, Timulo does not have all the stats that you're looking for that you would have expected him to accumulate, but it's a guy that I think is going to be a better pro than he was a college player.
Right? And when you add him to that defensive line as is, he's bound to have success, right? Bound to hit home.
Yep. That's going to do it for our second version of the mock draft. Obviously, we will have some more coming your way as we get closer and closer to April 24th. But before then, hopefully, you might have given us a follow on social media. You can find me, your boy, Coach Red, on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, K2406, TikTok, K0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follows. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.